Welcome to The Rock. So far, we've seen just about everything The Rock has to offer. Almost. We've seen facilities. We've met some legendary people. We've gotten to understand the important history of The Rock, the FDNY's premier training facility. But we have one last important episode to show you the very heart and soul of the FDNY with a very special guest. So without any further ado, we bring you part 4 of Welcome to The Rock.
All right, Chief, so tell us about this, looks like military section of The Rock.
Yeah, so this section of Building 9, this is dedicated to our members that have paid the ultimate price in service to our country. So these were active members that were serving in the military. So we have a very long and storied history of service to the military. Our relationship with all the branches of the military is strong. We've lost 47 members of the FDNY. Yeah, so it's really an incredible price that we've paid, but it's also an incredible memorial that we have to those members. For example, the plaque here, each of these plaques that are on here has a corresponding helmet to the company that the member was working in. So it's quite the amazing tribute, and it's a reminder to all who pass through. This is a busy corridor of the Fire Academy. Right. That's the main entrance, to Building 9. It's one of the first things they see.
How old is this? When did this get built?
This is a couple years old now. This was done, I believe, under Wally Blum, who's a retired firefighter who continues to work and help us do different things here. But he was an active member of the FDNY when we did this. So it's just an amazing tribute to our members, and it reiterates the strong relationship that we continue to have with our military.
Well, I was just looking at that, just to get Edie to take a quick peek at that plaque. So that says, dedicated to the members of the New York Fire Department who made the supreme sacrifice in the service of our country. And it says 1917, World War I, World War II. I mean, that's, and the dates and the guys' names, that's pretty incredible, and the companies.
Yeah, man. Heavy.
Yeah, and we just, for this past Memorial Day, we did a Remembrance Bulletin. We spoke about those, right? So we did a Remembrance Bulletin for these members as well, to make sure that all of our active firefighters understand, because there's a lot of veterans in the FDNY. But making sure that all of our members understand that the relationship and the sacrifice that we have had over the years for that.
Again, how long we have on the job, and I would never even know that plaque was even here. You know what I mean? We walk by this so many times when you're working here and training here.
Yeah, and when you're assigned to the Fire Academy and you walk around and you start to notice more that there's so many things that you're like, wow, what is this?
Right.
And you realize, wow, it's a memorial to to someone who served in the military, or to whoever. It's quite impressive. And we took the Remembrance Bulletin, and we now have it hanging on the wall over there, so you could take a look at that as well.
Awesome. All right, Chief, so what's next?
Well, I said this was the last stop, right? But we have a special guest for you here today, someone that you both know. Mm-hmm. So he's right around the corner. So you guys go check that out, and I'll catch up with you guys in a few minutes.
Sweet. Let's go, Ruff. Okay, we found him. Welcome. It's our honor to welcome to the show Chief Tommy Richardson, Chief of Department. We knew him when he was the captain of Squad 270, came up through the ranks, and now he's the Chief of Department. So basically, we want to know, Chief, what it's like to be in charge of the busiest and the largest fire department in the whole world.
Well, thank you for having me today, guys. Like Kevin said, I know Kevin and Louie for a very long time. We met over 20 years ago when we started our new squad companies in 1998. But to answer the first question about how does it feel or what is it like to be the chief of the largest fire department in the country, it's a very humbling experience. I've been promoted for a month, got promoted in end of June, and so I'm still trying to figure it all out.
Feel your way around.
But you know what? I this November I'll have 41 years in the department. Oh, you know, I got my letter to be hired in the fire department 3 weeks after my 21st birthday. So got on the job in November of 1980 and worked most of my career in Brooklyn and did a couple of years in Queens. As the boys said, I was the captain of Squad 270 when these squads were formed in 1998, 5 new squad companies. Probably one of the highlights of my career, great assignment. And, one of the greatest things about the fire department are the people, right? So I would not be standing here today as the chief of department if it wasn't for the folks and the people that I worked with over the course of my career. Certainly, family support is important, and you study hard for promotion. It's a very competitive process, and most recently, getting promoted to chief of department is just an honor and a privilege. I said at my promotion ceremony, what an honor to be the 37th chief of the New York City Fire Department. So 37 chiefs of department in 156 years. So that's not too many people. So quite a humbling statistic, if you will, right? But I worked in the field for 36 years before I came to staff. My first staff assignment was here, chief of the Fire Academy. And then I eventually became the chief of training, chief of operations, and now the chief of department. But humbling is the word. Like, once again, though, we are the probably the biggest and the busiest department in the country, and
In the world?
maybe in the world. I guess in the world, right?
In the world.
But we on an average day in New York City, just to give you an example. Our EMTs and paramedics are going to about 4,000 medical calls. Our fire operations units are going to about 1,500 to 1,800 runs a day. We do about 12 working fires on an average day in New York City. We had a very busy year this year. This year, the first 3.5 months of the year were the busiest 3.5 months in the last 13 years. A lot of work, a lot of multiple alarms. But once again, the people that we have on this department are just the best, and they're the best trained, best equipped. And a friend of mine used to tell me when I was a young firefighter, he says, "You give me somebody with heart and desire, and we'll make him into a firefighter."
I like that.
And that was so true. That was Captain John Vigiano.
The Vig.
The Vig.
The Vig was my senior mentor growing up. I met John Vigiano when I was a young teenager. Out in Long Island, my dad was a volunteer firefighter out in Long Island. John Vigiano joined the Volleys. I get to meet John when I'm about 15 or 16 years old. My dad and him hit it off. They were both Marines. And my father introduces me to John, and I get to know him a little bit. And my neighbor across the street from me was a fellow by the name of Pete Iovino, was a firefighter in Engine 236. And I went to work with him a few times as a young kid. And Vigiano says, he was a lieutenant in Rescue 2 at the time. He says, "You want to come to work with me?" I'm like,
Oh my God.
I'm in. So I went to work with Vigiano in Rescue 2, riding around Brooklyn,
Oh my God.
going from fire to fire. And I was like, this is pretty cool. I think I
And
want to
you
do
ended
this
up
for a
working
living.
And you ended up working there too.
And then I wind up getting on the job. All I wanted to do from that point down was be a New York City firefighter. So when I tell people, and I said it at my promotion ceremony, I am literally living the dream. I from the time I was I think probably 10th or 11th grade, I said, I'm going to be a New York City firefighter.
Wow.
And I took the test right out of high school. I had to wait, turned 21 years old, and I get in the job. And I did, like I said, most of my career in Brooklyn. I did have the opportunity, again, Vigiano being my mentor, to work in Rescue 2 as a firefighter prior to getting promoted to lieutenant. But I have to tell you, and I tell people this all the time, we become who we are in the fire department by virtue of the people we worked with, quite frankly. And I had the blessing to work with some of the greatest human beings, let alone firefighters, that I've ever met in my life. My first captain in the job was a guy by the name of Eddie Higgins, Engine 227. He was the quintessential engine boss. He demanded operational discipline, demanded excellence, and if you didn't do your job, he let you know. Wonderful. It was like working with your father. I actually worked with his son Timmy in Rescue 2.
Yeah.
Timmy was
4
killed
boys.
on 9/11, and I knew all the other boys too that were on the job. And I transferred to Ladder Company 102. My captain in 102 was a guy by the name of Dennis Cross.
Oh, my
Dennis Cross
goodness
was a
gracious.
legend in the job.
He was a chief in the 5-7.
Dennis became a chief in the 5-7 when I was a lieutenant there in Engine 235. And Pete Gansey was a chief in the 5-7 when I was a lieutenant there. So these are the people I got to work with. Ray Downey was my captain in Rescue 2.
That's incredible.
So I had 3 unbelievable captains that, kind of formed me, like I think if I didn't work with those guys, I don't know if I would have been where I am today.
yeah.
Honestly,
The person you are,
I mean,
these guys.
you know, and certainly the Vig had a
my
big
God.
influence on my career, always watching out for me. And when I come to work every day, my sole mission, and I tell all the people that work with me and for me, is we have to make sure that the firefighters, the EMTs, the paramedics in the field have what they need. Our job is to support them each and every day. That's our mission. Our mission in the city is to save life, protect property. We're the best at it. I'm a little biased. I tell people all the time we're the greatest
So are we.
and most dedicated city agency that the city has, quite frankly. And you call, we come.
That's it,
And
man.
we figure out. We're problem solvers. We get it done every single day. I told you how many times a day we're doing it. And I couldn't be more proud to be the chief of the department.
That's actually where I was going to go with my next question, Chief. So I know Kevin and I and Pete, we want to know, and there's a lot of people out there want to know, what is it to be the chief of department day to day? And where do you see the department moving in the future?
Great question. So, I'll give you my day, like I'll go honestly, because I think
coffee.
the way it starts. Not too many breaks. But I will say that I get into work early every morning. I get into the gym just about every morning when I come to work, just to kind of get my head straight, get the blood flowing, and I start my day sitting down with my executive officer. His name is Battalion Chief Dave Morkel. He's my right-hand guy. He takes care of a lot of stuff, takes a lot off my plate. I meet with the Chief of Operations just about every day. I meet with the Chief of EMS Operations regularly just to kind of get a briefing on what's going on. And I look at the daily report from the previous day's events, the previous day's activities, how many jobs that we have, how many injuries that we have, did we have any fatal fires around the city? You know, our fire deaths are way down historically in the last several years. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that, you know, much more awareness on the public's part, but I think our men and women do a wonderful job. You know, our medical folks, our firefighting operations are just tremendous, and people just do a great job. So I'll take a look at the previous day's activities. I work my way around the building often in headquarters. You know, I walk around a lot and I talk to people all day long. I think they get tired of seeing me, but I feel it's important that you get to know all the people that work in the building. So the fire department has 17,000 employees. We have about 15,000 uniform employees and about 2,000 civilian support staff. And civilian support staff is really important. So I feel indebted to them that they're there to help us. You know, the budget folks, the medical office, the technology folks. There's so many different
gear and
people.
the rear guys.
The people that do the back scene, you know, behind the scenes work, right? Supporting us every day. So I make sure that I go around and I thank people for what they do for us. So I do literally walk around the building all day long when I'm in the building. A lot of activities, a lot of meetings, obviously. I see the fire commissioner just about daily. We chat, you know, see what's on his mind, what's his leader's intent, and to your question about where do we see the department going. So let me just kind of give you a little historical perspective, right? So prior to 9/11, the fire department was the fire department. We merged with EMS in 1996, 25 years ago, and we took on a lot more medical response capability, right? And it was necessary. It raised the bar for the people of the city of New York. You know, we provide medical care, our engine companies, and certainly our EMTs and paramedics. So we're approaching 1998, and going back just to kind of, again, give you some history. Ray Downey was a visionary. The guy really was a visionary. You know, Tom Von Issen was the commissioner at the time. Pete Gansey had become chief of department. We're approaching 1998, and Ray Downey says, you know, we need to have more capability for hazmat response. You know, they were gearing up for more WMD type response and capability and concern, right? So the decision is made. The fire commissioner agrees. Ray Downey says we want to put 5 more squad companies into service. So in 1998, July 1, 1998, we established 5 new squad companies, which gave us a total of 7 at the time. Now we have 8. We added 1 more in the last couple of years. And then I became the captain at 270. Great opportunity. We added that component. We added a tiered hazmat response, right? So now 9/11 happens, right? We lose over 90 people in the Special Operations Command between rescues and squads. But since 9/11, in the last 20 years, we're approaching the 20th anniversary, the capabilities of the fire department have just grown significantly. Technical rescue, more hazmat capability. We have a tremendous marine division, our marine capabilities, the amount of boats that we have, the amount of trained people that we have, our summer boat operation, our technical rescue capabilities, the amount of training that goes on here at the Fire Academy for all of the specialty. All of our firefighters are trained in emergency response as relates to hazmat, WMD, multi-casualty, mass casualty incidents. We have so many more capabilities than we had 20 years ago. And where I see the department going in the future is just to continue to build on that. The fire department is a very young workforce right now. Just recently, I was told that only about 25% of our workforce, our uniform workforce, was on the job on 9/11.
Oh, my God. Wow.
So we've come a long way. But I'll tell you what, going back to what I said before, heart and desire. You have kids coming in this fire academy. We have a class in here right now. They come in wanting to be firefighters. They go into the EMS academy wanting to be EMTs and then eventually become paramedics. We'll make them into that. They got to want it, right? Mm-hmm. We have the greatest people in the world. And I go out to major fires and emergencies. I listen to fires all day long on the radio. I'm a buff like you guys.
I was going to say the B word.
I'm a buff. I watch videos all the time. And I got to tell you, the work that our folks do, every generation you come on this job. When I came in the job, they said, these kids.
I know.
When
We talk
you
about
came
it.
on the job,
we talk
these
about
kids.
it. Mine was the best time.
They said it to the guys that came before me, right?
My time was the best
Correct,
time.
right. But I tell you what, the generation after generation, the fire department is full of tradition, right? We have to teach them right. We give them the best equipment. We give them the best training, and they do a fabulous job. We got a young I was in a firehouse last night. I told you guys before. I visited a firehouse last night. A bunch of young firefighters. I had a kid that was a probie, and I had a guy with 35 years on the job working. Senior officer working in the truck. A fairly new lieutenant working in the engine company. And they got to run. I jumped on the rig. with the engine. And they said, "You coming on the run?" I said, "Yeah, hell yeah." It was a phone alarm for a fire, so I jumped on the rig. And I watched these kids in the back of the apparatus get dressed. They were all suited
pumped up.
They were looking at the screen in the back of the rig. There was SIDS on the building,
That's
and they were talking to one another. The first due engine got in. We were the second due engine. And I was so proud just to watch these young people.
I like it.
I remember, and I said to them, I wish I was you.
Yeah, no doubt.
I swear to God, I wish I was
You have
them.
to tell anybody you're doing it wrong. No.
Yeah, no. Dude, they had their coats on, their hoods on. They were ready, man. They were ready to go. They were ready to get off the
That's
rig
awesome
with
that
their
you do
masks.
that, though. That's good
I'll
stuff.
tell you what, since I became chief of department, I am determined. I did this as chief of operations. I visited a lot of firehouses. Now as chief of department, I'm going to make it every Friday. I block my schedule. Firehouse and EMS station visits.
That's important.
Every Friday.
That's important.
So
Guys
I'm going
would
to be
say
out
that.
there.
Guys
I'm going
will
to jump
say
on
that.
an ambulance. I'm going to jump in a fire truck. I'm going to ride with them. I'm going to ask them questions.
important.
What are we doing right? What do we need to do better?
Yeah.
And
like
I think
it.
a lot of people do that all across the country. But I'm determined. When I was a young firefighter, I'm sure you guys remember this. You guys could remember sitting in the kitchen and saying, "These guys in headquarters, they don't even know what's going on."
No doubt about it.
Right?
They're out of touch.
So I have made it my
I agree.
mission.
That is
when I
great.
became the chief of operations in particular, I says, I am going to stay in touch with the field.
Absolutely.
You have to stay in touch with the boots on the ground. You have to know what's going on. I don't ever want to be that guy that they talk about.
It makes them
This
feel
guy
like you're
doesn't
one
know.
of them, right?
And you know what? When people ask me what I do I tell them I'm a New York City firefighter. I don't tell them I'm a
Yeah.
firefighter. I'm a firefighter. Like, you know, I walk around at home like you with shorts and a
I had to tell
t-shirt.
Peter, you know who that is? That's the top guy.
So when I'm home, you know, that's who I am. You know, it's who we become. Like we become. It's not something we do. It's who we are. Like right, as firefighters. And so I know when guys retire, like I'm sure when you guys retired, and I talked to a lot of retirees, it's a big blow to the ego, right?
Oh yeah, I'm just the guy mowing my lawn now.
Your
Yeah, yeah.
identity is being a firefighter.
Yeah,
right? So there's nothing better than that, man. I've been doing this stuff. I started as a volunteer firefighter almost 45 years ago. I got 41 years of coming up on a job. I still love it to death. And when I see the probies too, and I tell the pros, I wish I was you, man. I wish I was starting all over again. A lot of different equipment now. When I come on, we didn't have bunker gear, of course, you know. Probie school was 6 weeks. Probie school was 6 weeks. Now it's 18 weeks. You know, it was up to 23 weeks at one time. But
Good stuff.
it's good that you guys do these kind of things because we're the New York City Fire Department. We're the FDNY. And I tell Frank all the time, in my opinion, I always tell guys, we're the gold standard, man. I think we should be the gold standard. We're the biggest, we're the busiest. And that's not to disparage anybody because you guys know when you go across this country, you go to any firehouse anywhere in this country, firefighters are the same everywhere.
gotta be
Same
proud.
at
You
every
walk
kitchen
in,
table,
come
every
on, have a cup of
apparatus floor.
coffee,
gotta be
have a
proud.
meal. Like right, it's the same everywhere,
Yep.
right? Some are busier than
Same
others.
circus, different clowns.
It's the same story, man, and that's what makes firefighting in this business what we do the greatest thing on earth, man. It's there's nothing better, in my opinion, than living a life of service, man. I always tell people, I think we're all put on this earth to serve, in one way or another.
Yep.
Those of us that choose first responder business, cops, firefighters, EMTs, paramedics, there's nothing better than that. It doesn't get any better than that, man. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to help people.
No doubt. Awesome. Chief, appreciate it. Appreciate
always
your
a
love for
pleasure.
the job. It really is.
Thank you. Thanks, man. Thanks for being
I'm
here,
gonna
guys.
hug
It's
him.
always good to see you guys. Always good to see you guys. I remember you when.
And listen.
Did you ever drive me in 270?
Yes.
You did? Okay, I don't remember.
Hang on for your life.
Hang on. Go fast. And fellas, look for Chief on a Friday at a firehouse near you.
I like it.
10-4. Have a great day. Thank you.
Now that was a great surprise, having an interview with the Chief of Department. I want to thank you, Chief. Awesome.
Yeah, glad to have you guys here today.
Thanks for taking us out here.
So
Had a great time.
We spoke to the chief. Obviously, a lot of you guys wanted to see Pete throwing up his lungs in the smokehouse, but because we got to do so much today, more than we could have ever imagined, we're actually going to come back and show you guys when the probies are here how they become firefighters, and then we're going to throw Pete into the smokehouse. No, we're going to throw him in the smokehouse. But we're going to make him run through some of the stuff that the probies do, and I'm sure it'll be entertaining.
We'll put him through his paces. We'll give him a good day in life of a firefighter.
Like it.
But you're gonna have to be clean shaven for that. I just want to give you fair warning on that.
Nice.
Okay, I can do that.
The camera's already shaking.
Awesome,
All right,
Chief.
Chief,
Thanks
Thanks,
so much.
guys.
Really
Appreciate it.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.